fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Heard on KCAA 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
All right, welcome back into the House of Mystery, and now joining us is our guest. So we got a new book coming out, Alex Cross Must Die.
It's so sad. So sad.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
And that's the noise. James.
Wait a minute.
James Patterson is in the room. Well, I don't know what to say to that. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I mean, terrible in a good way. But with mysteries, it should sound terrible.
A lot of people do.
I hope Alex does okay.
Well, you know, if anybody knows, you know, right? I mean, come on.
If anybody knows, yeah. You never tell about these things, yeah.
Listen, this is what, book 32 of this series.
Yeah.
So how does that keep going like this? How does this? How is it about the character, or is it about the action itself?
You know, I don't know. You know, I'm sitting here in my office, and all around here there are shelves going all the way around the office. And right now, you said 32 crosses. There are 29 live books and screenplays around the office that are like going on right now, and it's kind of madness. But, you know, individual series, it's interesting. It's its own thing. Not too many last that long. Some do. I know John Grisham, who I think he's quite good, but he just went back to Mitch from the firm, and he had trouble with it, doing a number 2 with the same character. So it's its own set of problems. You know, Mike Connolly, who I'm friendly with, Michael made a huge mistake though, because what he did is every book he aged Bosch a year.
Still looks good.
So Bosch is now like 80 years old, you know. So we just don't do that. I learned from John D. McDonnell way back, and John D. McDonnell had his lead character, and the new book would come out, and it would only be like 2 weeks since the last book. So he could keep his character young and, you know, whatever. So with Alex, same thing. I mean, it might be like 3 weeks since the last book. So Alex remains active and a credible, believable cop, even though Alex and I have been together 30 plus years.
Well, when you say that, I have to ask, what kind of relationship do you have with Alex? Like, how do you see that character?
We're tight, Alex and I. We talk a lot, hang out. Yeah. You know, Alex, I relate to Alex a lot in this sense that we're both very family oriented. And, you know, one of the problems that a lot of people have, depending on their situation, is juggling their work with their family, and the rest of their life. And Alex's situation is very extreme because, you know, his work life it would be bad enough if he was a homicide cop, but it's worse because he's a homicide cop in a series that really takes a lot of liberties with what a homicide cop can do. I don't write realism. I mean, that's one of the issues. Sometimes people will read the stuff and go, it's not very realistic. That's not a good criticism of my stuff because I don't write realism, and I say it up front. It isn't realism. So, you know, it's not realistic, isn't really fair criticism. I don't like it as fair. That's a good thing. But Alex's, his life, the life that I create for him is really terrifying, but somehow he has to balance his family with that. And I think the reason that people stay with Alex, more than anything else is his family life and his kids and his grandmother and his best friend, John Sampson. And you just get into the characters and you want to know what happens to them. Yeah, how are they going to do? Are they going to change much? And that's what I think keeps it really vibrant. And, you know, I mentioned Grisham before. I don't think he really had thought much about Mitch and his wife, whose name I can't remember. And then all of a sudden he was in the middle. Oh my God, I gotta sort of get back in touch with this guy again. And I don't know how successful he was doing that, but that's the challenge. That's the challenge with this.
Grisham, he's a writer.
Yeah. No, he's good. He's good. Yeah. I'm not super judgy. I tend not to be. I mean, you have a sense, for what's working for you about a person or a writer or whatever, but I tend to then be pretty open about it. Well, they're doing the best. I have a friend, teacher friend, and years ago he had this thing, I'm doing the best I can religion. And I always thought that was cool. That's a good way to look at people. Yep, they're doing the best they can, and that's okay, and that's fine, and I'm going to, within reason, go along with it. So I can tolerate, my Republican friends and my Democrat friends and my independent friends up to a point.
That's a good way to look at it.
You might know what that point is. Well, we're not going to get into that point.
No.
I'll give you a hint. He was a president, but, whatever, yeah. No, we're not going there.
Well, you mentioned Alex doesn't age much. How do you deal with time, with the changing times, and bringing him into like 2023 as opposed to the 90s?
I don't know. I don't really think about it that much. Every once in a while I come up. I made a choice early on with the books not to do much with COVID. I think occasionally I have, but mostly I haven't dealt with it too much in the books. I'm always much more interested in whatever the puzzle is for this particular book, and then just the characters. And my thing is, and Michael Connelly said this about my stuff. He said, what Jim does is every chapter, moves both the plot and the characterization forward and turns on the movie projector in our heads. And that's more what I'm thinking about the movie. And I don't worry too much about, whether it's, 10 years ago or right now, or, whether it's 223 or 225 or 221, unless it's something that really, where the thing in the book really comes out of, current headlines, which is rare for me.
Well, I'd love to ask this question too.
So you ask this of everybody that comes on the show?
Not everyone.
So this is like a format. It's like a cookie cutter thing. That's what I get. That's people.
No, we're boring. You're
gonna get
exciting.
involved.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Quite the opposite, as you'll find out in the next 40 minutes.
No, I'm always curious about this because they say that up to 50% of people don't have an inner monologue. And I'm just wondering if you can hear Alex Cross, if you can hear him in your head. You're talking about being able to see, kind of like a movie.
I could hear him, except the other voices kind of get in the way. There's so many voices in my head that sometimes I can't really pick out which one is Alex. There's so many voices. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Multiple personalities.
And you're allowed to drive?
I mean, when I'm actually writing the book, yes. Or writing a Michael Bennett, or, one of the important things, and this is true, and it comes up with me all the time. I mean, I'm sitting here with 3 new outlines on the desk here, and people don't think about this because I always go, oh, you write short chapters. Yeah, he does, but he being me. But, there has to be a voice for every one of those. 12 Months to Live, which I just finished with Mike Lupica. And that's an interesting and challenging series because we got 12 months to live, the next year 8 months to live, and the year after that 4 months to live. And it's a character who has gotten a death sentence. And she's a terrific character. But the key there was getting a voice for her. And for me, the title I wanted originally for the first book was Jane Effing Smith. And we went round and round and round with the publisher and wound up with 12 Months to Live.
It's the same thing.
Which was probably a mistake. And the second book will probably be Jane Effing Smith. But getting a voice for her was really important. What's her voice? What drives her? Where's she coming from? And that's the most important thing for me, not kind of what year is it or, whatever. What's that voice? Who's that? Who am I talking to? What's that person? What are they like? And with Lupica in particular, I mean, we go back half a dozen times a day, back and forth. It's kind of like a writer's room over the telephone. And either one of us can write that character in the same way. I think when you get writer's room in television, if it's a good writer's room, anybody in their room can write that character. They know the voice. And usually if there isn't a good voice, the show isn't very good.
Well, for you then, and considering that you have collaborators and multiple projects, where do you start, the character or the story?
They kind of both come together, and I keep layering on. With Jane Effing Smith, the character came first, and I wrote a lot about her. There's another one I'm doing now and the character is coming first. And the first thing I thought about her is she's really, really, really grouchy. And she just riffs on everything. Everywhere she walks, she's in New York, wherever she is, she's just riffing on, hating, I don't know if you've been in New York recently, but they have those bicycle lanes. And every time I step out on the sidewalk, I'm afraid of getting killed. But she's always ranting about this stuff. And that's going to give her a voice, throughout the book or books. I don't know what we're going to do with her. And sometimes, I'm trying to think of what, I'm thinking more of the books that I'm on now, which I don't like to talk about because I kind of give them away. But sometimes it'll start with a plot idea like, Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas, which was a kind of a love story a ways back. And that did start with, my wife Sue was taking about over 1 million pictures of our son, maybe 5 million, a lot. And on the living room table, there was one of these big books with, maybe 500 of the different pictures. And I was sitting there looking through the book one day, and then I was thinking, how sad. Sue and I was 50 when Jack was born, and Sue was 40. And then at one point, he'd be looking at that book, and we wouldn't be around. And then I thought this horrifying thought that we would be looking at this book, and he wouldn't be around. And that drove me into Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas, that notion of having to deal with the death of a child. So in that case, the story came first. I didn't know who the characters were going to be. So, and that happens frequently where it's, I have, the woman of God. I just had this notion of it starting with the last pope has died, and the cardinals are all together, and there's a rumor running around Rome that a woman is being considered. And the reality of it is when they go in that room, it could be anybody. Theoretically anyway. It could be any person, doesn't even have to be a Catholic. And then to go back and tell the story of this woman and why she would possibly be in a position where she would be seriously considered as the next pope, which to me was kind of a cool mystery and interesting thing. But that started with that idea before I had any idea about really who that woman was. So it depends.
Well, that leads to several questions and having other writers.
Oh, I have several answers. Right? This is going to be so cool. I've never played this game before like that.
I'm taking notes, man. Yeah. And this is totally selfish. Since about an hour ago, I started outlining my next book. I know you're an outliner. You've been asked this question before. Can you give us an idea how you can outline one project versus 30 projects, or how do you put this all together? How do you put a story and characters together?
I always layer. I'll do a lot of times. What I'll do is just start jotting down scene ideas, just a line or two, scene. It may or may not fit in. I mean, look, it's not an infinite number of possible scenes, but any story, your life story. I told my life story. And I decided I would write it as nothing but stories, just story after story after story. None of this, Newburgh was a small town, blah, blah, where I grew up, none of that crap. It would just be story after story after story. And insofar as I was going to talk about being a kid, I would just tell kind of cool stories about when I was a kid. That would be it. Or, what it felt like to go to New York and want to be a writer and not have a clue about whether you could do it So with my stories, I generally would sit down and just start writing down possible scenes. One of the things that I'm working on now, I had to go for my annual checkup. I was in New York, and I was in this hospital up in the 10th floor or whatever, and I'm looking out on this street, and there's this tower. It wound up being, I forget what the hell it was. It's a big smokestack. It went up like 40 stories, okay? And I'm staring at this smokestack that's 40 stories, and there's a goddamn ladder, just where you can just climb up that thing. And I'm going, who the hell would ever literally go up 40 stories to the top of this thing? And I'm sit there doing it, and that became the first scene in this story where I have this woman that wants to meet this. She set up, she wants to meet this guy, and the guy that's climbing it had been a detective. It had just been fired. And she waits until he comes down, and she's going, what is with this guy? And he won't tell her. When he finally comes down, he won't tell her why he climbs this ladder. And literally, the last scene in the book, a lot of stuff is going on at this point, and he climbs the ladder, and then when he gets up to the top, and they've gone through a lot at this point, the two of them, and she's up there, and he tells her why he climbs the ladder. So sometimes it's just that kind of stuff where it's just, I don't know. And that drove me. There was, this is, kind of the weirdness of where these things come from. I went on tour, with Lupica for the last book, and we were down in Jersey, and it was a terrible day. It was just rainy and windy and cold and miserable. And my wife Sue was with us. Yeah, it was Jersey Shore. Yeah, whatever. No, it can be nice, but it wasn't that day. And they said, well, let's go take a walk on the ocean. I said, yeah, all right, fine. So we walk about 2 blocks to the ocean, and I say, screw this. This is ridiculous. It's cold. We're getting wet. I don't like it. So I walk back to the little hotel we're staying at, and they go for a walk and probably have an affair. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so I get back, and I'm almost to the hotel. That was a joke.
We're laughing inside.
So I'm almost to the hotel, and this guy is riding in this wind and rain, old guy, in the wind and the rain, and I'm looking at this guy, give him a little wave, and one word, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but one word goes through my head. And I walk back into the hotel, and I write 5 pages of an outline just based on seeing this guy, and one word, and the word was not bicycle, one word went into my head, and that became the driving force behind another book. Just that weird, there's a story there. I don't know. So it's kind of like that. That's the madness that is my pretzel of a mind. Multi-pretzel. Many voices. Yeah. I used to work in a mental hospital. Honest. I was not a patient.
Yeah, sure. Escape.
That's why I worked my way through college and grad school at McLean Hospital in Belmont, Mass. Real good hospital. Interesting. Yeah. I met Robert Lowell there. He was in 3 or 4 times while I was. James Taylor was a patient. And that was the coolest, because at that point he wasn't famous. But he used to sing, and he had Fire and Rain and a lot of those songs, and he would sing in the coffee shop. And you could just go in there. He'd do it 2 or 3 times a week, and you'd sit like 10 feet away from James Taylor. I mean, you didn't know he was going to be a big star, but he was amazing. And then his brother Liv was there, and his sister Kate was there. And I didn't know James other than to listen to him in a coffee shop. I knew Liv and Kate a little bit, but it was an interesting place. And I just started writing a lot. And somebody said, you're lucky if you find something you like to do, and then it's a miracle if somebody will pay you to do it. And that kind of became my gig. I found that I really loved to write these stories and make them up in my head. And I'd done it even as a kid when I was growing up in Newburgh and upstate, and I'd be out in the woods, a little kid, and there weren't a lot of people who lived around where we lived at that point. And I would just go through the woods making up these stories in my head, So, and that's kind of where it came from, and it's still that way. Just making up these stories. And I've said this before, but when I write, I like to pretend there's one person sitting across from me, and I'm telling them a story, and I don't want them to get up till I finish. And that's both my strength and my weakness. The strength is that I'll constantly be doing everything I can to make sure that they stay with me. And the weakness is sometimes I don't dig as deep as I should, because I'm so concerned that they're going to get up and leave. Like, Grisham doesn't worry about it. He sets the hook in, and then he doesn't care. He knows that he has the hook, and they're going to stay with him, even if he wears the
Oh, my.
Get out of him for a few pages.
He holds a gun to them. Come on.
I was struggling with a manuscript once, and I remember I got a bolt of inspiration when I saw you on the TV series Castle. And you were all playing the game of playing the game of poker, and I said, that's it. My ambition one day is to be sitting at that poker table. So that really, really helped to inspire me. So I've got to ask, did you ever have a similar kind of...
I'll tell you a funny castle story before I forget it. So I'm on a plane, and this is, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm walking down the aisle, and this woman starts pointing at me. She goes, I know you. So I stop. He's trying to be nice, and she says, you played Patterson on Castle. I said, yeah. And I'm going to play him on this car ride, too. Related, not a related story, but similar story. Last year, we're down in Florida. We have a famous Italian restaurant. And it's not famous. It's our favorite Italian restaurant. And the waiter walks us down the aisle of the little place, and this woman pops up, and she goes, I know you. She said, you sold us our life insurance. And then she argues with me. And I go, lady, I would never sell life insurance in South Florida, or hurricane insurance. I would never do that,
They're fans.
Yeah, whatever it is. But yeah, I have life insurance, not of me, but,
Do you play poker for real?
No.
No. Oh, so I'm never going to be able to sit at that table. Shattered dreams.
Well, no, you know what? I don't think Connolly does. Yeah. I doubt that, what's his name? The guy from Castle, the lead. I don't know. I mean, it just was always in that show that he would do that bit. It was kind of, well, I say it's fun, but it wasn't, because the reality of it is they would say, we want you on set at 8:30, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And you'd have a little trailer like that's supposed to be hot.
How dare you?
Right, but it's like being in somebody's toilet. and then like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, they'd shoot you. So you'd be there all day. You're just sitting around. It was like ridiculous.
Oh, no.
So and that's why I stopped doing it. I said, it's going to take me like 3 days. I got to fly out. I got to sit around in this trailer for a day, and then I got to fly back. And I like doing the actual, the hour of it. That was kind of fun, but sorry to puncture your dream.
Well, yeah,
that's all right. I'm going
He's taking his meds now. That's, wrecked his life.
Yeah. You write plays, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why does Alex Cross have to die? Like, what's the deal here?
Why does he have to die? I mean, it's life, you're born, and people need to accept that's the whole thing. You're born, you live, you die. It's, that's the deal. I give you a thing that maybe you all know where this came from. I don't know where it came from, but earlier this year I heard this line, and I love it, and I've been living by it in terms of the projects I decide I'm going to do or not do or whatever. And I think it's as useful for a 20-year-old, and maybe more useful than it is for people like me. But the language is, my time here is short. What can I do most beautifully? And I think that's great. I mean, and for me, it's tell stories. And for some people, it might be raising their kids or being with their grandkids or being a potter or whatever the hell it is. But if they think about it, and if you're 20 years old and you think about it a little bit and you think how important it is and you try to figure out what could I do most beautifully, it might lead you somewhere that would be useful, And that's my kind of, so, at some point, Alex, it depends. I don't know who's going to go first, me or Alex. We'll see, TBD. So I guess I'm kind of giving it away that he must die, but he doesn't die in this book. So, spoiler alert. But, people will probably figure that out. I mean, if I'm going to kill him, I'm going to put it right in the cover. The last Alex Cross, he's deader than a doornail.
That's a good title.
I'll tell him. I'll let him know. This is the end.
Yeah.
Deader than a doornail? Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can use it if you want, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get right on that.
He's writing it. He's writing it down now. So you said that you hear all these voices and stuff, and you put your character like Alex Cross through all this stuff.
Yeah.
Does that affect you at all? Do you feel any of that stuff, or does it just flow right through?
I feel it when I'm writing, and one of the things, if I'm writing something and it's supposed to be a love scene or it's supposed to be really scary, if I don't feel that, I don't think the reader will. You know what I mean? If I'm doing this, I'm going, this just feels like crap. This feels like I'm just cliche, blah, 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 and people, I guess, probably think I fail at that sometimes, but yeah, then I figure, I'm not ready yet. I haven't accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And when I work with co-writers, if they're sending, drafts of chapters and whatever, and what I want to say is, you're the best, so, great. And sometimes it's like, no. It's going sideways. The story is not going forward. It's going sideways, or we've lost the voice. We've lost the voice, or there's no stakes here. You read a lot of books, and this is why a lot of books don't do as well as that like, you start out and somebody has a good idea and you're kind of hooked. And then it just starts marching in place for about 100 pages. And that's not good. And that won't happen with my books, because whether I'm doing it, whether working with somebody else, it's marching in place. This is no good. Can't do that. Yeah. Or I figured it out and I'm not interested in going any farther. And they go, oh yeah, but that isn't what really happens at the end. I don't care, because I think I figured it out and it's boring now. Because I think I figured it doesn't matter that 200 pages from now you're going to change it, because for that 200 pages, I don't want to read it. I just feel, yeah, okay, I see where this is going, blah, 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 who cares?
So who was the really bad co-writer you ever worked with?
The worst?
Yeah, the one that sent you. Like,
oh my!
None of them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, I've never had a bad experience. You'd have to ask them whether they probably might say something different. But yeah, just in terms of the better known ones, that's always been a joy. President Clinton and I have become, good friends. We exchange Christmas presents, birthday presents. He gave me one year, he gave me a humidor. And he knows I don't smoke, so I call him up. I said, what am I supposed to do with this? Put bubble gum or chocolate cigars in it. He said, oh, bubble gum. At our age, we've got to exercise our jaws and stuff, So that's a nice relationship. And the thing, Dolly Parton, that's another, it's a good relationship. One time, I had a birthday coming up and she called me up and she sang happy birthday over the phone. And I wanted to say, Dolly, I'm going to hang up now. I want you to call again. It's going to go to voicemail. When it goes to voicemail, I want you to sing happy birthday again. But I didn't have the nerve, so I didn't do it. So I don't have the recording of her singing happy birthday to me over the phone. But, there's never been any arguments. And people, the press, they always love that everybody needs to think the way they think, even if you don't think that way. Well, you must have had some. No, I really have not had any problems. I don't have fights with any of them. A couple of the ones that have been around for too long, you know how it is. People start thinking that it's them, it's all them, and that's fine. It's not. I get rid of them and go to somebody new and no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Joe.
But the relationships have been, I just finished, which is really kind of once again, going back to what can I do most beautifully. Michael Crichton's estate came to me and he had started a book. And he'd done, a few pages, a bit of it. And they said, would you be interested in finishing the book? And I said, well, I don't know. Let me read what he wrote, So I read it, and it had to do with a volcano that is going to possibly destroy the island of Hawaii. And there's something else there that's even worse in terms of what would happen if this volcano basically destroyed the island. And I went, yes, I would like to finish this because, one, I like the idea. And secondly, I thought it would be a great challenge because I've never done anything where you have to incorporate an awful lot of science. So I got a volcanist, and in fact, I'm going to talk to her in a couple of days again about something else. Elizabeth from Alaska. Elizabeth, she teaches at the University of Anchorage in Alaska. And so I would go back and forth with her, and I'd say, what about this? And she'd say, that could never happen. And then a day later, she'd call up and go, well, I think I can make it work, and finish that book. But I love the challenge of it, to try to do something that one would be kind of worthy of a Crichton Patterson book, and just that challenge of doing something different. That's what got me into doing kids' books, same thing. Kids' books that I do are funny. And I hadn't really, because Alex Cross, serial killers, his voice isn't that funny. He's not, he has some humor to him, but the kids' books I got to really be, there's one, I Funny, and it's this kid who little kid, he decides he wants to be a comedian. And, so he reads everything he can, and then he starts writing his own stuff, but he can never actually be a stand-up comedian because he's in a wheelchair and, blah, blah, blah. But I love writing, having that kid's voice, and then if it's called I Funny, it better be funny. And I think it is pretty funny. So the kids stuff and it's just a different way. There's one, was one Middle School, the Worst Years of My Life, which I think is a funny title, and the book is pretty funny. And then what the hell's, whatever it's called, something. It's a funny title, whatever the hell it is. Something. Potty mouth, stupid and potty mouth and stupid. And it's great. And a lot of the mom said, oh, it's got stupid in the title. You can't read that. And I go, no, it's about word bullying. And there's a reason why this kid is called stupid, because when he was 4 years old, these two kids got these names, potty mouth and stupid, and they're 12 and they still are called that. So it's a funny story. Tragic, but funny.
Well, we were talking collaboration before you came on, and how a lot of writers.
Oh, you guys.
We were, because.
Are you collaborating?
Well, that's the question, because
that's so cool.
We were saying, hey, why don't writers like us collaborate more? So and the question is, well, we're too busy. We have our own series, and which is for real. But what do you get out of collaborating? Not how you put a book out and you meet, but money and the money.
Money, yeah. No, at this stage, I not to be a jackass, but I don't need the money. No, I have all these ideas. I mean, somewhere in here, where the hell is it? Somewhere over in that corner, there's a big pile. I don't know if I don't see it looking through the little backwards, but it's about a foot high. And it's just page after page of ideas, and the clever title on the top it says ideas, and and I have so many of them, and you just want to see how they're going to turn out. You know what I mean? You got this idea, you don't know until you. So I have all these things, all these stories like Woman of God, like this. I want to see how it turns out, and that's the fun of it, and to be able to do it and to write a 40, 50, 60 page outline. And then, go on and do another one. And some of the books I still write myself, but that's the fun of it. It's a little like, being a showrunner, but a pretty dynamic one, in terms of my involvement. It's not, I mean, most showrunners, I think they back off a lot, but I don't do that. I'm very clear about what we're trying to do, about the voice and the pace. And, and that's what it is going to be a James Patterson book when all is said and done. And, the other thing, I mean, a couple of them have gone off and done their own thing, Andy Gross and, whatever, and done their own novels. And that's fine. That's good. Good, and that's a good time to part. You go do your thing. Great.
So when you're doing all these different books, and you're doing Alex Cross, did you have an idea 31 books ago where he would be today, or did he develop?
No, he develops every year. It's going to be some new, and there's a continuity. And I think I don't think about it so much, but I think people kind of expect that the family is in some way, shape, or form going to be part of it. Obviously in the beginning, he was a younger guy, and he had the younger kids, and then the wife who dies early on, Maria. And we got a series come. We were lucky because we got it shot before the strikes, so that's coming on Amazon. I think I'm going to say March or April, but we were lucky because we had the whole thing shot. And Aldous Hodge, who's really good, he'll be the Alex Cross in the series. He was in City on the Hill with Kevin Bacon. He's very good, and he's a hunk. So and they tested the hell out. I was surprised, but they test a lot, and it was the highest testing thing that I think they've ever done. Wow. So, and it's good. It's what I like about it is, I mean, here's the books, and I kind of know who the book audience is, and that's a little different than the Amazon audience. So it's edgier, it's blacker, and I really like the way it turned out. It's cool. It's a very cool thing. Bosch to me is similar to the books. This one jumps out a little bit. We're doing Women's Murder Club now, and I was just talking to the showrunner yesterday, and she's going, I want to be close to the books. I said, you don't have to be close to the books. I mean, somewhat, but no, more edge. We can, and be more cinematic. And this thing started 20 years ago. We really want it to feel contemporary and real and relevant, and and better. We can do something better than the book, I think. And that's the hope anyway. Jane Effing Smith, that we're developing. I can't get into who it is because they haven't announced it, but the actress is attached. The showrunner is one of the best, and the lead writer is from a show that we all love. So and they usually, as you know, they don't usually get a package together like that. this early, but that's what they have. So yeah, and that's because once again, going back to Jane Effing Smith, she's a really good character, and this actress jumped right on it, So
you can tell everybody I'm going to be the actor in it.
The one that gets tossed out the building.
Tour woman, and yes, you're a good-looking woman, but will you shave your beard?
What?
Will you shave your beard if you get the part as a woman?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
All right. Oh,
I've got the wig.
Fine.
I've got the wig.
Let's go for it. Yep, Jane Effing Smith.
Well, how have the movies and TV changed how you perceive Alex or any of your other characters, or have they?
It doesn't. No, zero. No. I mean, look, Morgan Freeman's a great actor, but that's not Alex in the books. Morgan was older, and he's great. But I never thought about Morgan no, I'm blanking now. So yeah, that's terrible. I'm just bad with names. And the same with the current thing. I mean, and that goes back a ways because in the series that's going on television, it's Alex when he was younger. And Sampson actually, it's the actor who does the,
How dare you!
Sometimes I just go crazy with names. Yeah. He's very good, but he's very unexpected that they would have cast him.
Maggie says Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry was, that was, we did the one, with Tyler. And I'll tell you what, I thought the director messed it up. Tyler was a total gentleman, and I think he would have been fine. And you watch him in some of the more serious things he'd done, and he would have been fine. But it was the weirdest thing in the world because this director would rewrite the script the night before we shot. I'm going like, what? So essentially we're shooting with the first draft. Like what happened last night? And, why are we, and I don't know. So that was kind of, unfortunate.
Well, talking about the continuity itself within the series, how do you keep track of continuity? Do you have series Bibles? Do you have systems?
I don't know. My editor, she remembers everything. And she go, you can't do that. You can't put Alex in the Middle Ages. Yeah. I'm pretty good at, because I'm just dealing with those scenes and that, and and it's okay. But sometimes she'll bring something up and go, don't you remember that, he got shot like a week earlier? So, he has to have a limp or something, Yeah. It's not a big, I don't worry. You might notice, you might get the sense I don't worry about stuff too much.
It's good.
Yeah. It is good. Well, and I don't, I'm fortunate. One of the lucky things is I don't need to listen to, and I do like to listen to people when they have something to say, but I like to get the criticism, but I don't have to do it. So that's really, I mean, I don't know what you all are doing, but I just go, nah, I don't want to do that. Sorry.
So crazy question time.
As opposed to what? What do you think these other questions
right?
have been?
Yeah, they've all been pretty good. If you were kidnapped, which fictional character would you have rescue you and why?
I hate those kinds of questions. So what is it again? If I was kidnapped, I would like you to rescue me, because I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, I'll come and rescue you. No problem at all.
I'm already a dead man. That's right. I'm in a little. They buried me in one of those little things, like a coffin thing, and Gavin's out here trying to, O'Neill, I'll call you from now on, and O'Neill, the playwright, and and I'm never getting out of here, because I know that you're the one that's going to come rescue me. If I had any of them to rescue me, I should.
Oh my!
I don't know. I guess Alex. I really thought of it that, He's a kind of a... Well, I have to go with Alex because he always solves the crime, so I know at the end that he's going to get me. I don't know if I'd be alive, but he would at least find the body.
Fair enough. Well, if everybody's not available, give me a call.
All right, okay. All right.
Yeah, he is.
Can you do an American accent?
Sure, I'll give it a go.
What? I'm just asking.
I'm an American. I was just born in the wrong country.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
That's his Alabama accent too.
I'm actually doing a book in Alabama right now. I can't get into it. It's another one. It's my next. It's stupid to bring this up because I can't get into who it's with. But it's a cool story in Alabama.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. So O'Neill. It's another possibility for you.
There you go, O'Neill.
Alabama. Yeah.
And you got the Holmes, Marple, and Poe book coming out.
Yeah.
I guess just after. So what's going on there? What's that about?
There it is, man. You listen to the title. I
It says it all.
with Skydance, it's really interesting. Alex Cross, Amazon decided they weren't going to do it. And so the agent called up. He said, oh, they changed their mind. And that was it. Like, oh, I'm sorry, are you the agent? I mean, did you talk to them about trying to talk them out of it? But Skydance went to Amazon. They said, wait a minute, this is the same objections you brought with Reacher, which they had produced. And they said, okay, fine, we'll greenlight it. So I called up Skydance and to thank them, really, for rescuing Alex. And then I said, well, I have the Women's Murder Club, and that actually is more popular around the world than Alex is. And they said, okay, well, we'll buy that. I said, oh, good. Okay, well, I have this other one. You should just buy it on the title. Holmes, Miss Marple, and Poe. And they said, well, we're not going to buy it in the title, but tell us a little bit more. And I did, and then they bought that too. And that's one of these things, if you think about the notion of the talents of Holmes, the talents of Marple, and the craziness of Poe, and put it all in one stew, and that's kind of interesting, if we can do that. And what it is, it's modern day, which is another kind of like, really? And all the characters claim to be like a descendant of Christie and a descendant of Holmes' creator, and then a descendant of Poe. And it's just kind of a fun idea to me. And then it was like, okay, well, in that case, all the characters came first, and then it was, okay, well, let's try to write a story about it. And it's really, one of the cool things about that series is, I wrote it with a guy I knew from my advertising days. He had never written any fiction, blah, blah, blah. We did a kids series for like PBS and stuff, Kids Stew. I won 7 Emmys along the way. But he had never written any fiction. It was just like, I said, well, let's try something. The guy is great. He's great. And he just has it, whatever the hell it is. He can write scenes. He knows how to start a scene. He knows how to end a scene. He knows how to pace the scene. His dialogue is terrific, blah, and it's just stunning. And we've always been friends. We got much closer to doing this, and I go, Brian, you're amazing. It's just, and he goes, and he's so insecure because he thinks everything he writes sucks, but he's great. It's an amazing thing. So at any rate, that Holmes, Miss Marple, and Poe, and it's another one of these things where I really want to see what it's going to feel like. And we've written 2 already. And, it works. You just go like, woo, okay, this is terrific. And a lot of it is Brian, this guy from nowhere that's, he's 70 or something now. And, boing. Stay healthy, Brian.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right.
As I get older,
keep telling yourself that.
Well, yeah.
I will.
Allie Cross. So you got a kids detective series spinning off of this.
Yeah, Allie's been around for a while. The whole kids thing has become so difficult because the big stores won't stock the kids books very much. So that's a huge problem. Barnes & Noble used to put some of the kids books up top, like when you walk in the store. And that was really important and useful. They pretty much don't do that now. And that's a disaster because if you're at the front of the store, that means 90% of the people that walk in the store will see the book and go, oh, yeah, right, I got kids or I got grandkids or whatever the heck it is. If it's in the kids section, you go from 90% to 10% of the people. So that's bad, in my opinion. And then a lot of the places, they won't stock the book. Borders used to be good with kids' books, and now they're gone. And a lot of the other ones, they won't stock much in the way of kids' books. And then kids, like, if you have a series, they want to read, if they discover it, they want to read all the series. Most of the indies are too small to have the whole series. Most, not all. And so it's hard. It's a hard thing. So the first Allie Cross, we put it out, and I convinced the publisher to put it out the same day as an Alex Cross so that they came out, and there they were together, and they really kick-started the series. And then they started going, oh, well, I don't know, maybe it's stealing copies from the adult out. And I go, why would it, whatever. So they don't do that anymore. But in general, and this isn't about me, it was just the general thing about we need kids to be reading. And mostly, I have a kids imprint, and our mission is, it's called Jimmy Books. And when a kid finishes Jimmy Book, they'll say, please give me another book. As opposed to millions of kids in this country who have never read a book that they like. That's terrible. And if schools want to, and boards of education, they want to solve this problem, you got to make sure that some of the books kids are reading, they go, please give me another book. As opposed to, I hate English class. We just do grammar and we read stuff that I hate. That is not smart. If the job is to get kids reading, and certainly in the beginning so that they become competent readers, if they're not competent readers by 4th or 5th grade, the percentage of those, right now only 44% of the kids in this country read at grade level, which is a disaster. I actually have a program, it's not my program, but it's with the University of Florida. They have the vaccine. They have a program that gets that number up into the low 80s. And we're doing it in 5 or 6 counties in Florida. Canada has picked it up, which is weird. And it works. We have the vaccine. And that means you will save thousands of lives over time because X number of kids will become competent readers. They'll get through high school. They'll have choices. They won't wind up in jail. I go to visit jails from time to time. And it's weird because a lot of these young, well, mostly males where I go, suddenly they're readers because they got nothing else to do. If they had learned how to read when they were younger, a lot of them would not be there because they would have had choices, and
what are they putting in the schools or in the bookstore?
The same.
How dare you?
That we used to read, and you go like, I don't like this.
Joe's stuff.
There's too much of it. Some of it's okay. Look,
nice stuff.
Shakespeare, but wait until they're ready. If I was teaching Shakespeare, okay,
Mockingbird,
what I would do is I get in. And I go, all right, everybody stand up on your desk. I would get thrown out of the school immediately, but if I'm the teacher, everybody stand up on your seats and your desk. And I want you to understand, in London, and this is not like any city in the world, but in the days of Shakespeare, plays were enormously popular. And nowhere else in the world, pretty much. But they were. But these things are performed in these bars. And the bars are noisy, and they're lewd, and whatever. There's a lot of craziness going on. So the actors, who were all men at the time, and they would get up and they would have to scream. So we're going to scream out this Shakespeare stuff. We're going to scream the first page of Macbeth or whatever the heck we're studying, and that's the spirit of this. Okay. Now I'm going to give you 5 minutes of history between England and France, or not with Macbeth, but whatever. So you're going to understand a little bit of the history, not too much, not so much to bore you, but enough so you'll understand the play a little better. Now, language is the other thing I want to, you'll notice around and all the, blackboards, they're not blackboards, they're wherever the hell they are. I put up all these phrases and words and whatever. And, here's the weird thing. Shakespeare made up all those words and all those phrases. Is that weird or what? But he just made this shit up? Yeah. Here's the other weird thing for you to think about, okay? Every single word that we've spoken today, every word you've ever spoken, somebody made it up. Whoa! That's cool, man. Yeah, okay, so now we're like into Shakespeare a little bit, But that's what, you just can't feed them Shakespeare and read 30 pages and you'll be tested tomorrow. What? That doesn't work. Yeah. It's never worked. It turns people off. But if the objective, especially early on, get them to be competent readers, okay? If they're going to go to Harvard, God bless them, they'll figure that out. Get them to be competent readers. The whole class, all of them, get them.
Well, if Canada picked it up, it must be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Gavin, is that where you're from?
No, that's...
Is there a Canadian
I'm a
here?
Canuck.
Al's from Canada.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. They'll come take me away, right?
Yeah, we'll let anybody
Anyway,
know.
well, this is amazing. We appreciate you being here. Hour's up, and, of course, Alex Cross must die, and find out why.
Wow, it only seems like 2 hours. Yeah, that's the new, and I think it's a fun read, and I'm going to go out with Lupica because he has coming out the new Spencer. That's the first one that he's written, for Robert Parker. They had another writer, and nothing against but I stopped reading them. That particular style it just didn't feel like Spencer to me. But the new one that Mike did, which I'm about halfway through, and there's the voice again. There's the Spencer that I knew and loved. So yeah, we got that. And, and people should remember the holidays are coming, whatever those holidays might be. And it's a good time to go out and get a book and instead of giving somebody socks or ties or stuff, which they hate. Do you ever for the holidays, do people ever give you anything that's worthwhile?
No, nobody ever buys me anything.
Ice cream, man. Give me ice cream. Yeah, that's right. That's the stuff. Kill me. Kill me with ice cream.
Yeah, I'll give them a bucket. James Patterson, thank you.
All right, so good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James.
All right, it's been a mystery.
All the times, this is one of them.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or shows, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Well, good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.